Hi, it's Jaymi from LivPrem Yoga. Thanks for joining me for practice today. This week we're talking about the power of limits and how not only do these limits actually expand our creativity and expand our mind to solutions, but also the limits themselves become the very gateway that allow us to transcend or expand beyond them. So we often use the term things like thinking outside the box. And we can't think outside the box if we don't first acknowledge the box that we're in and the limitations that we're experiencing. So many inventions and new ways of thinking, new ways of creating, new ways of expressing our human consciousness have come from these limitations that were imposed. Often people with disabilities or some other kind of limitation are the ones who are able to most precisely help to invent something that allows them to transcend those limitations. The idea is to embrace the limitations that we experience and then allow that experience, that pure, clarified experience of the limitation, to be the method by which we are able to see beyond it. So when you find a limitation in some of the poses that we might practice today, I want you to really sit with those limitations, and rather than thinking, I'm not good enough, I could do this better, I wish I could get further than this, or I wish I could get deeper into the pose, more like the idea of being fully present with those limitations, finding all the nuance around those edges of our ability so that we can use that clarified awareness to move past and beyond those limitations. So the first step is to identify the limitation, identify the box that we're in. And then the second step is to use our acute and keen observation of those limitations to imagine life beyond that border. I found a quote from an unusual source, not exactly sacred scripture, but there's a speaker named Duncan Trussell who I thought had something really beautiful to say about limitation. And so, as we mentioned earlier, what we want to do is really get close and intimate with our limitations as we practice through our postures today, and also to get comfortable coming up close and nestling into our limitations that we find in our broader life. And once we reach that point where we have a very clear idea of what those boundaries or limitations might be, we can move to the next step that Duncan Trussell has some words of wisdom on. He says, just for a second, with your will, or however you transform your thought patterns, allow yourself to sit still and imagine that you are limitless, that you can do anything you want, that you deserve love, and that you are a slumbering volcano of bliss. Well, you are a dormant love volcano. You can, at any second, erupt and geyser pure, unfiltered love into your community, into your family, in the form of selfless action. It can happen, he says. I believe it can happen. Allow yourself the fantasy that it can happen, just for a few minutes each day, and then get back to your regular life. Study the results. Do these exercises, then keep a little journal and write down any change that happens in your life. Write down anything that happens that's different from the usual stuff that goes on. If nothing changes, then you don't have to do the experiment anymore. But if you find that by allowing yourself a few minutes each day to indulge in the fantasy that you're a limitless being that deserves love, that is composed of love, and that has the power to radically transform not just your own life, but the body and the psyche and the lives of the people closest to you, then congratulations. You figured out a tool that you can use to improve the little flicker of existence that you're currently enjoying in this dimension we call planet Earth. So to begin our practice today, we're going to come into lying on our backs in Shavasana. Settle into the floor. Make any small adjustments to the body to allow it to relax more deeply into the support of the floor. After fine-tuning your Shavasana, find your way as close to stillness as you can. Then concentrate your awareness on all the parts of your body that are in contact with the floor. Backs of the knuckles, the elbows, the shoulders, sacrum, heels, back of the head. See if you can identify exactly where the boundary and limit of your body is and where it connects to the floor below you. Then move your awareness to the front or top side of your body. Feel all of your skin that is exposed to the air around it, the parts of your skin that are touching clothing. And again, see if you can identify the very edge of the boundary of your being, the limitation of your physical body. Then shift your awareness to your breath flowing in and out of your body. Begin to notice the permeability of this boundary of your physical form, this limitation of your finite human body. Identify that limit keenly, be clear about it. And then see if you can imagine your breath that's flowing in and out, not only flowing in through the nose and mouth and out through the nose and mouth, but also the tiny microscopic amount of water or in the form of sweat that's moving through your pores. See if you can feel the connection between your senses within your body and the sensory stimulus from outside of your body and how that is constantly crossing this permeable boundary or maybe illusory limit of your physical form. Start to feel the edges of your body sort of blurring into the floor and the air around you. Feel the presupposed limit of the sensory processing inside the body and the sensory stimulus outside the body and how they are merging at all times. And maintaining your stillness in all the parts of the body except for your arms, which will sweep overhead. Find a long stretch, reaching the fingertips away, pulling the arms up and out of the shoulder sockets. Maybe the feet come together and stretch the toes away. Find a strong stretch, almost as if to reach past the limitations of your body. Then feel your heart and your mind beginning to accept the possibility that you can move beyond that limitation and start to move your mind and your heart over to one side of the mat. Maybe the legs also follow here. One ankle crossing over the other, one wrist encircling the other, one hand encircling the other wrist. And then see if you can settle into this new situation where your heart and your mind have escaped the boundaries and limits of your body. Feel one side of your body vast and open, the other side of your body more limited and compressed. Sort of a symbol of what we turn our focus away from and how our turning away from the ideas of limitations and boundaries begins to open up a whole new realm of possibility. Take about 5 more breaths in this asymmetrical moon bend shape. Begin to transition your body back to center, finding that long stretch again. Again, imagining that your awareness is moving past your fingertips and past your toes, past your broad open heart and belly. And then find your way to the other side of your mat, heart and mind escaping the limitation of your body, arms and legs following suit. Maybe the ankles cross. Maybe one hand encircles the opposite wrist. And again, we settle into softness here. Still maintaining that
idea of where the body is in contact with the floor or the space around it, feeling how soft and permeable that limitation or boundary is. And noticing the difference between what is limited or compressed here and how this creates an opportunity for expansiveness and openness. Feel your breath flowing in and out of the body again, making that boundary or limitation seem almost an illusion rather than a hard and fast thing. Just a few more breaths on this side. And again, working your way back to a centered shape. Maybe the arms stay up and overhead, but come a little wider to open the heart. Maybe the feet are a little further apart, toes falling open. Getting more of a sense of that expansiveness and openness in the body. Then bending at the knees, bringing the soles of the feet to the floor. Reset the spine and then draw the knees in towards the chest. Maybe the head also lifts off of the mat. See if you can pull that unlimited nature into a box. Just notice how easy it is to compress these unlimited ideas into more manageable, limited ideas. Then relax this hold. Roll to your side. Take a breath or so. Then rise back up to a seated shape. We're going to gather a few props for our next shape. If you have a couple of bed pillows or maybe 2 or 3 blankets or towels, we can use those to support our back in our next shape. We can take this next shape in a couple of different ways. You can experiment with what works best for your body. We're going to come into a place where we're lying on our back on some supports that helps us to open our heart and our hips. If you like a lot of support in a pose like this, you might consider using 2 bed pillows behind your body so that when you come to lay down, you have quite a lot of support behind both the heart, the spine, and the back of the head. So that's one option. Another option could be a little bit more concentrated support just along the spinal area, in which case you might like to have a blanket or towel or 2 folded into a somewhat narrow rectangle shape that can be used behind the body. And then the third blanket or towel, which you could use with any support behind your back, would be to open up a rectangle shape in that and then roll it. And this will be used to support the knees and ankles in our pose. So once you've chosen a support for behind your back, you can rest your sacrum up against that and then take your rolled towel or blanket, place it on top of your feet, and then pull it underneath the ankles. Now the closer you pull that support, the more support you're going to get. A little bit less support maybe coming out wide under the knees instead. A little more support might look like tucking it underneath the ankles. Once you have your props set up, we can move our way into the pose by reclining over our back support. Ideally here we feel an opening through the heart center, a lift at the mid-back and underneath the ribs. Palms can be open, maybe even stretching the fingers open and then softening the hands. Allowing the hips to open in this shape. And just as we did in our first poses, feel where your body is in contact with the floor or with some kind of prop support, and where the front or top side of the body is exposed to the air. Again, feel the limit or the boundaries of your body and how soft and permeable they are. Noticing and watching your breath flow in and out, noticing the sensory processing within and the sensory stimulus from the outside of the body. Just breathe here, experiencing the expansiveness, the openness. This is us intentionally moving beyond those limitations. Feeling your breath move. Feeling the front of the heart, the belly, the throat center, and the mind all open with possibility. Feel the compression at the back body, helped and supported by the props or the floor. And how those limitations of our bodies not being able to move past that point actually supports the opening at the front of the body. This illustrates so perfectly how limitations cause us to think more creatively. And that creative thinking, that more openness, that openness to new ideas, openness to novelty, allows us to expand beyond the perceived limitations we experienced before. Identify the box that you are in. And then begin to think creatively about how to expand beyond it. Let your palms be open, let your heart be open. Feel the area between the bottom of your ribs and the pubic bone. This is an area that is often considered to be the seat of intuition, transformation, change, and discernment. Feel that part of you coming alive in this pose, empowering you to move past your limits, to at least allow you the possibility of imagining yourself limitless. Let your breath help you to perceive that permeability, the illusory nature of your own boundaries, of your own limitations. And rising above these limitations does not devalue the limitations themselves. As I mentioned, we really want to acknowledge and utilize the great value of these limitations to help us to expand beyond them. The limitations themselves are the gateway. We've often heard the phrase that the obstacle is the path. In many of the same ways, our limitations are our very gateways to living and moving beyond them. For your last few breaths in this shape, take deeper inhales and hold your breath at your capacity. Then breathe those breaths out through the nose or the mouth and be full and complete about it. Draw the navel in towards the spine to fully release your breath. When you're ready to come out of the shape, very slowly and gently draw the knees back together, bringing the soles of the feet to the floor. It might feel good to lift and lower the sacrum just to temporarily release that compression in the low back. Then from here, rolling to your side to come up, or simply using your arms to press your way back up to seated. In our open heart pose, we began to at least imagine the possibilities of limitlessness. For our next posture, we're going to take that same keenness of observation and turn it inward to see how we can find the resources within ourselves to expand beyond the limitations of our body and mind. So from here, we can take our roll that we were using to support our ankles and knees, straighten it back out, and place it in such a way that it will rest just underneath the knees. Your feet can be wide apart, they can be especially wide, they can also be closer together, ankles a little bit less distant. We're going to settle our weight on our sitting bones so that we feel level, kind of lifting and lengthening through the spine. You may or may not choose to use some support in front of you. You can always take one or both of the supports you were using behind your body and now place them on top of your legs. We're going to find a forward fold here. You might also choose to not use those. But find first a big open heart, a big open possibility in the front of the body, and then we're going to transfer that openness to the back body as we lift and lengthen and then fold forward. As we fold, back of the heart lifts, chin tucks in towards the chest, and forehead can either hang over your support. You can also rest your forehead on your hands, or you can bring in an extra blanket or folded towel to place at the far edge of your pillow supports to rest your forehead on. Arms can come down alongside the body, palms up. They can also come and reach back behind the body to allow the shoulders to fold further forward. Take several rounds of breath to soften your body into the shape. The idea here is to surrender to the limits that we perceive, accepting them, learning about them keenly, and then using that knowledge to feel that expansiveness in the back body. As we engage with looking within at our own perceived mental, emotional, or physical limits, what is facilitated by that is that opening in the back of the heart. It might feel good within this shape to breathe in deeply. And as you breathe out, see if you can breathe out through that gateway between the shoulder blades as those fall further away from the spine as your shoulders roll forward. See if you can breathe in and collect as much information about your perceived limits as possible. And as you breathe out, let those limitations just kind of be breathed out through the back of the heart, allowing you to clear the path in front of you toward that more expansive nature. Take several more breaths in this pose. Maybe again we enhance our inhales, inhaling to capacity, briefly holding the breath in the body. Then exhaling through the nose or mouth, but also energetically exhaling through the back of the heart. And let that openness at the back of your heart pull you back up to a seated shape. We're going to remove all the props from the mat for the moment so that we can start moving toward our standing postures. So beginning to deconstruct our support system from our props. We'll find our way to a standing position at the front of the mat. So you might just bring yourself up to seated and come to standing. Once you've found your standing shape, bring your hands to your heart center. Take a nice big full breath in and out. Next time you inhale, sweep your gaze and your hands upward. As you exhale, take a nice dive forward into a forward fold. Find the steadiness in your feet and legs. Find a soft ease in your upper body as you hang. Feel your belly getting soft. Feel your front body collapsing inward. Gaze inward as chin comes to chest. And feel again as we look within,
As we feel and see and perceive very clearly whatever limitations we think we have, we feel the back body open and expand. Feel the expansiveness and the stretch happening between the heels, the sitting bones, the sacrum, and the back of the head. On an inhale, lift halfway, lengthening. Feel a different kind of more active stretch. Exhale, passive back body opening. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, passive back body opening. Last round, inhale, lift and lengthen. Feel that active expansion. Exhale, surrender to what is and feel how much more open the whole back body can become. Relying on that opening at the back of the heart, let that back of the heart lift and lengthen, cat arch as you roll slowly back up to standing. And again, arriving in your steadiness, bringing hands to heart center. Let's move through a full flow of sun salutations now. Inhale and exhale. Then inhale, reach hands and gaze upward. Exhale, bend and fold forward. Let your hands or fingertips come to the mat, bending at the knees if needed. And then stepping back with the left leg, let your left knee drop down to the mat. Inhale, lift and lengthen again. Open up to possibility. Arms might come wide. Palms are stretched open. Belly, heart, throat, and mind are open. Next, exhale, frame your right toes. Tucking the left ones under the body, step back and find downward facing dog. Feel that back body expand as the chin comes a little closer to your chest for this last breath in down dog. Exhale, find a plank position. Feel the strength of your belly and your arms pressing into the limit of the floor to push you up into the possibility around you. Exhale, come all the way to the belly. Lean into that limitation. Lean into that boundary here. Then inhale, lift your head, your chin, and your heart, opening up past that limitation. Exhale, release, tucking both sets of toes, pressing up and back, downward facing dog. One more breath, and the left leg steps forward to find that low lunge. Right knee dropping. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Heart lifts, gaze lifts. Arms are wide open. Take it all in. See past the boundary. Use the boundary of the floor to press your heart up. Exhale, frame your toes. Let your right foot step forward to meet the left. Rising halfway for that active lengthening of the spine, then exhale, find a more passive lengthening as we lean into our limitations, as we look within for what we perceive as our limits. Feel how open the back body can become. Feel how steady the feet on the floor. Soften the belly. Surrender a little deeper. Feel the back body broaden. Then lift the back of the heart to bring you back up to standing. One more round like that. Palms coming together at the heart center. Big breath in and out. Inhale, arms and gaze rise. Exhale, fold forward again. Fingertips or palms are coming into the mat, bending at the knees if necessary. Right foot steps back first this time. Coming into our low lunge, this time we're going to add a little twist, so grounding through the left foot and the right hand. Inhale and lift your heart open to the left. Your left hand might rest against your thigh, or we might find some shoulder opening movements here, just to experience that expansiveness all around us, even as we lean into the limit of the floor. One more breath in here, lifting and opening into that space. Exhale, come back. Tucking the right toes, stepping back, find downward facing dog. Feel how pressing into the mat through the hands and feet allows the sacrum to lift a little higher. How pulling our elbows inward allows the back body to expand a little more, chin to chest, to look within at what we perceive as our limits allows that back body to open. Next, inhale, right leg steps forward to find our low lunge. Left knee drops. Inhale, open up to the possibilities again. Use the floor as that limitation as we press into that. Our heart and our mind lift open. Our hands are more open. We have a broad front body. Next, exhale, frame those right toes, grounding through right foot and left hand. Open up into your twist here. Again, right hand might rest on the thigh, or we might find some expansive motion in that right shoulder to feel out all of that open possibility around us, even as we lean into the limitation of the floor. Take a few more breaths here. Then frame your right toes, tucking the left ones under the body. Step forward, find your forward fold. Surrender completely to whatever ideas we have of the box that we're in, the limitations of our body or our mind or our emotions. The more our chin drops to chest, the more we gaze intently within, the more opening we feel at the back body. Then lift and lengthen through the heart, pulling upward as we find our way back to our standing pose. From here, we're going to start to push our limits or try to find a limit within our body just so we can nestle up against it and see how much we can get to know about ourselves. So just as we did before, starting with hands at heart center, big breath in and out. Next inhale, we reach up with the hands and the gaze. As we exhale, bend at the knees, send the sitting bones back, find chair pose. We might draw our chin slightly more down towards the chest here. Maybe we can look within as we hold this powerful shape in the body. See if you can take 3 to 5 more breaths, finding your own limit. When you've found that limit, sink down on your next exhale, then stand back up and release your hands. We're going to do 2 more like that. Inhale, reach up with the hands and the gaze. Exhale, find your chair pose. See if you can keep lengthening upward through the torso, even as you sink your hips further down. Find your limit with this shape. And when you find it, exhale a little lower down, then inhale, straighten the legs and release your arms. Last round like this. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, sink down. Find and move right up to the very boundary of your body, the very limitation of your body. When you find it, sink down as you exhale, then inhale, reach up, exhale, release your hands. Kind of shake the body out, find a little softness. Take a little rest to contemplate that boundary or that edge that we found. Inhale, reach up again. This time as you exhale, sinking down into chair pose, find your very edge, stay grounded through your heels, stay lifted and lengthened through your heart. See if you could push your fingers past the limitation of your body upward, even as you press the skill level of your body in this shape. When you find that edge, sink down as you exhale. Inhale, lift a little, exhale, fold. Find a sense of surrender here. Feel the passive lengthening of the spine through gravity rather than through reaching up as we did in our chair pose. bending at the knees enough to allow fingertips or palms to rest on the floor for balance. Step back with your left leg towards the back of the mat. As you inhale, rock your body upward. Both legs straight, right toes facing the front of the mat, left toes and heels facing long edges. Inhale and lift your heart open, stretch your fingertips wide. See if you can push past the wingspan that your body's really capable of, and then exhale into Warrior Two, bending into the right knee. So what we have here is a strong stance and the ability to be ready for everything, poised, brave, courageous. Feel your heart open as you embody that courage, and feel the energy from your body pushing past the limits of your fingertips. Feel your heart energy expand past your physical body. Push out, see how far you can reach. Then turn your right palm up, inhale, rock back. Take a few breaths here. On an exhale, right forearm comes to right thigh, left arm reaches up and overhead. Again, push past the limits of your left fingertips with your energy from within. Then let's take that same move dynamically. Inhale, right arm reaches up and back. Exhale, left arm reaches up and forward. Moving with your breath. 3 more like that. One more breath in here, then exhale to frame your right toes, stepping your left foot forward to meet the right. Inhale, find that intentional strengthening and lengthening through our flat back. Then on an exhale, find that more passive lengthening through our surrender. As we begin to see and accept our limits enough to work with them, that is the key to finding the solutions. When we don't accept our limits, when we just reject them or resist them, there's no expansion. We're stuck. But when we begin to see and work with our limits intentionally, that's the gateway, that's the breakthrough to moving past them. Feel the back of your heart lift and open as you rise back up to your standing shape. Inhale, arms and gaze lift. Exhale, hips sink down. Find your chair pose, stretch up past the limits of your fingertips. On your last breath here, sink down a little bit more, then inhale, lift a bit, and exhale, find your fold, surrendering again. Keeping your gaze inward as your chin comes in towards your chest. Fingertips or palms are on the floor for steady support. And then we're going to step back towards the back of the mat with the right foot this time. Planting your right foot so toes and heels face long edges. Hinge your body up. Both legs straight. Inhale, open up through the arms. Push the energy past your fingertips on either side to expand. Feel your heart open. Exhale, bend into the left knee, Warrior Two. Find your bravery here. Find your ability to do more than you can do on your own. So who's helping if we are not working alone? Turn your left palm up, inhale, and exalt the warrior. This is our acknowledgement of that the universe has got our back, that we are connected in wholeness to the divine and sacred source of energy and ability. On your next exhale, bring your left forearm down, right arm sweeps up and overhead. Feel the right side body expand now. We'll take a few breaths. Then again, find our dynamic movement, inhaling to exalt, acknowledging. Exhale to put that into action, that partnership with the divine. Inhale, accept that help. Exhale, use that help to go past your own limits. Two more. Then framing the left toes again with both hands, stepping forward with the right, finding our forward fold. Inhale, find that intentional lengthening. Exhale, surrender fully to what is. Keep your gaze inward. Feel how this acknowledgement and working with this limitation that we perceive within opens the back of our heart. Breathe out through that gateway at the back of the heart any ideas about limitation. Begin to imagine yourself as that limitless being. Just for a moment, allow that fantasy that you are limitless to work its way through your heart and your mind and your body. Then inhale, lift the back of the heart, come back up to that standing shape. Hands can come to heart center or rest by your side. From this standing shape in the body, inhale, lift up. Exhale, fold, bringing palms or fingertips to the mat, bending at the knees. Then stepping back with both feet, one at a time, to find downward facing dog. Again, press into the limitation of the floor and feel how this lifts your body up. See if you can lift the back of the heart as your chin comes to look within. See if you can come into a steadiness here, an equilibrium of keenly observing our limitations while imagining and devising creative ways to move past them. If you like, from here you can lift your right leg as you inhale. As you exhale, everyone's leg can come to step forward at the front of the mat. Left knee can drop again. And we're gonna wiggle walk that right foot out a little bit wider to the right so that both hands come inside. Dragon pose. We might find a little bit of movement in the hips within this posture. This is us feeling out how far can I shift my hips to the left, or how high can I lift them, how low can I lower them, kind of acknowledging and finding those nuances of our limitation. Then finding a steadiness, move your heart forward, lift the crown of your head as your chin slightly tucks, and then we're just gonna sit with this posture, this challenging posture, trying to find our limit with it. If you don't feel like you're experiencing that limitation, need a little bit more challenge, you might come down to forearms inside of this pose. You can also stay up on your hands and just try to be steady. See if you can maintain stillness in as much of the body as possible, smoothness in the breath, and open-heartedness, open-mindedness to experience and be fully present with the limitations we experience in a challenging posture. This is helpful on the mat, and it's helpful off the mat. Challenge yourself to stay for another 3 to 5 breaths. Possibly beginning to come back to palms if you haven't already done so. As you're ready to come out, start to walk your hands back towards your left knee, extending your right leg long, finding a little stretch here, then walking your hands back forward and finding your way transitioning to pigeon pose, right ankle coming behind the left wrist, right knee behind right wrist, and either finding some support for underneath that right hip or walking your left leg back. And again, within this pose, we get more of that sense of surrender. And even as we do this, feel how that surrender allows us to open the heart. As we surrender the hips down, we can lift the heart and maybe the chin. Taking the first half of our pigeon pose, upright, open, expanded through the front body. Feel the limitation and compression at the low back, limitation and compression in the hips, and also the expansive nature of this pose. For the second half of the posture, if your body allows it, you might come down again here to forearms, maybe chin comes to chest in this shape, expanding the back body a little more. Maybe you can come flat to your belly. Again, trying to find a steadiness and a stability in this pose. Challenge yourself to stay for another 3 to 5 breaths here. Just remaining incredibly observant and present to whatever limitations we may be feeling in the heart, the mind, or the body in this moment. When you're ready to come out, coming back to palms if you're not already there, tuck your left toes behind the body and nice and slow begin to transition your right leg back to the back of the mat for downward facing dog. Find that steadiness by pressing into the limitation of the floor. Feel your hips lift, back of the heart lifts and opens as your chin comes in towards the chest. We might choose to lift the left leg high. As we exhale, left foot comes forward towards the top of the mat, right knee drops. Wiggle walking the left foot out a little wider to find our dragon pose. Again, begin to understand the nuance of your limitations in this pose, finding some movement in the hips. Then once we've learned those boundaries and limitations, kind of sitting with, taking the first half with hands on the floor, heart lifted. Maybe for the second half of the shape, we come down deeper into the pose onto forearms. Keenly observing whatever perceived limitations we feel here. Beginning to imagine our way past them. When you're ready to come out, if you're not already on your palms, coming back to your palms. Starting to walk your hands back towards the right knee, extending the left leg long, finding a little stretch there, then walking back forward and transitioning ourselves into our pigeon pose. Left ankle behind right wrist, left knee behind left wrist, either finding support for that left hip or walking the right leg back. The more we can surrender our hips to the floor, the more open we can become in the heart, and more lifted we can become in the mind. Shoulders can pull back. And just kind of settle in with surrendering in this pose. And how that surrender through the hips can advance that opening or forward movement in the heart. Remaining steady, just observing through the heart and the mind and the body any limitations we may be experiencing. And again, perhaps for the second half of this pose, we might come forward, maybe chin comes to chest to look within, or to move our gaze more toward the hips so we can watch the surrendering happening. And as we feel this surrendering downward through the hips, again, we feel that expansion and openness through the back of the heart. Maybe as we exhale, we send that breath out through the shoulder blades at the back gateway of the heart to clear the path in front of us. Challenge yourself to sit with this steadiness and surrender for 3 to 5 more breaths. If you're not already on your palms, beginning to transition back to the palms, tucking the right toes under the body and finding our way nice and slow again back into downward facing dog. pressing into that boundary of the floor to push your body up into that possibility, surrendering our gaze inward to see the root beliefs of our limitations, even as our heart expands upward as we gaze inward. Feel that relationship between keenly observing our limitations and how that assists us in expanding beyond them. Take one more big full breath in here and hold. As you exhale, knees drop to the floor, big cat arch to the spine, and settle into child's pose. Taking a few rounds of breath here to again keenly observe within and feeling how that inward gaze allows expansion through the back body. Three more breaths here. Witnessing, surrendering, and feeling how both of those actions open and expand the back body. Maybe breathing out through that back gateway of the heart to clear the path in front of us as we release our ideas of limitation behind us and move past them. As you're ready to come out of child's pose, bring your palms underneath your shoulders. Cat arch as you rise up into a kneeling shape, bringing your hands behind the body and extending your legs forward on the mat. We're going to move back down to the back lying position here. So just allowing your spine to come down and be supported, widening the feet on the mat to allow the knees to fall together. Lifting and lowering the sacrum, the shoulders, and the back of the head to find ease and peacefulness. Finding a place that's appropriate for observing. Feeling the back body meeting the limitation of the floor. Feeling the front body opening up into possibility around you. Bring the arms a little closer in alongside the body, palms down, wrists near your hips, opening the knees and ankles so that everything is approximately hip distance apart. We're going to take 3 bridge poses here. Big breath into your low belly. Exhale, pressing into the floor, reaching the tailbone up, almost a little tilt in the hips here, and just coming part of the way off the floor. As you exhale, start to slowly lower the body back down to the support of the floor. When you're fully supported, another big breath into the low belly. Exhale, press into the feet, lift the heart a little higher, maybe the shoulders walk a little more under the body. Feel the expansiveness as we press into that limitation of the floor, how the front body lifts and opens past its own limits. On an exhale, lowering back down. Full breath in. Last round of bridge. Press into the feet. Find your highest expression that's possible for you in this moment where your breath is steady, your heart is open. See if lifting the heart up towards your chin can help you push past a limit. See if pressing deeper into the feet helps to lift your hips a little higher. See if walking the shoulders a little deeper under the body helps to push past a perceived limit or stopping point in the body. And then challenge yourself to stay an extra breath or maybe 2 extra breaths. Focusing on remaining steady and trusting. When you're ready to release, start to walk your shoulder blades out from underneath you. Maybe open the arms out, embracing the self, kind of grasping each hand for opposite shoulders, and then lowering down to the mat. Releasing your hands, maybe allowing the knees to fall from side to side. And then draw the knees in towards the chest. Again, maybe the head lifts off the mat here. Pulling ourselves in, noticing how easy it seems to reduce our infinite nature into some kind of confined shape. But notice how much effort is required to hold yourself in confinement. It's difficult to contain an unlimited true nature. On an exhale, releasing your body back down to the mat. We're going to stretch the legs out long to find our Shavasana-like pose. Reach the arms up and overhead along the floor. Stretch from fingertips to toes. See again if you can push your energetic body past the limitations of your physical body. And then from this opening place, we're going to move our head and our heart outside of that limitation, finding that moon bend shape, letting arms and legs, head and heart come to one side of the mat. Focusing on both the limitation on one side of the body and the expansion that that limitation empowers on the other side. Recognizing the relationship between limits and breakthroughs. Acknowledging perceived limits in order to experience a deeper sense of wholeness, completeness, and expansive, unlimited nature. One more big breath into your open side here. As you exhale, squeeze your compressed side a little tighter and then walk yourself back to center. Find that long stretch again. Fingertips and toes pushing to their ultimate end and then feeling your energetic body slip past those permeable borders of your body. Then shifting head, heart, and body over to the opposite side of your mat. Find that same sense of compression on one side and how that empowers an expansion on the other side. Feel the relationship between keenly becoming aware of your perceived limitations in order to empower yourself to move past them. One more breath. Breathe deeply into that open side. As you exhale, squeeze the more compressed side, and then find yourself back in the center of your mat. Maybe just letting the arms come to a more comfortable place. They might remain up and overhead, but more relaxed, or come into a more traditional Shavasana shape down alongside the body. Begin to settle into stillness. Trusting the limitation and support that the floor behind you provides. Lifting your heart and mind into that unlimited space before you. Feel the limitations behind you and the possibility before you. Use your breath to navigate the permeability of that box that we're going to start thinking and acting outside of. Feel the liberation of letting go of limits and moving past them into your more unlimited truth. Allow your breath to deepen. Feel the tips of your fingers, tips of your toes, very boundaries and edges of your skin, and how soft they've become in this silent witnessing state. And allow subtle movements to begin happening in those parts of the body. Maybe even making the body move into a more expansive or wider shape for a few rounds of breath. Continuing to deepen. Longer inhales, longer exhales. And beginning to bend at the knees and the elbows to come back into that tight little cannonball shape. Notice how much effort is required to boundary that unlimited nature into a small space. Then release and relax that gathering. Let yourself roll to one side. Take a few breaths in stillness here. Then transitioning slowly, rising from this side-lying shape into an upright seat. Settling your sitting bones into the floor, finding an expanded spine, an open heart. And just keenly observe again the boundaries and edges of your physical body. Acknowledge the limitations of your emotional growth and acknowledge the limitations of your mind. And with your next inhale, kind of sweep the arms out wide, palms open, gaze upward, heart open. Embrace the expansiveness that breaking past your perceived limitations allows you. Take a few more breaths here, each inhale exaggerating that openness. Then on an exhale, bring your palms together at your heart center. Let your gaze come downward, inwardly acknowledging that unlimited nature that is within you. As we acknowledge our own perceived limitations, we engage in creative ways to move past them. And as we escape our own boxes and begin to think outside of them, we invite and encourage others to do the same. As we let go of our limitations, we reduce our own suffering. And as we invite others to think outside of their own limitations, we reduce their suffering as well. And so we end with this prayer. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all beings be happy, healthy, safe, and free. Namaste.